Hey y'all, it's Ball. Hope you guys are having a good time and a good night. Or maybe it's a good morning. Or maybe it's not morning at all. Maybe it'll never be morning again. I don't know what time it is there. But anyway, that's what I'm here to talk about. Is time. It's time for time. This time, hopefully I didn't mess up the stream and make it so you guys can't hear anything. Look at that. It's the past. You can see a moment ago where the mouse cursor used to be. It's a waveform where we were, but realistically, it's just now. We're not really looking at anything different. It's all the same. You know what I'm saying? Like we're just looking at one thing. Hope everybody's having a good time. Don't know if anybody's in the chat, but if you want to chat, I'll try and chat you back. And I do appreciate everybody being in here. In case anybody hasn't seen, I do have some channel notes. This is my TikTok in case anybody wants to come check me out on there. Eventually, I'd like to stream live on there too. Maybe do some longer streams. I don't know. I don't know what you guys got going on with your days, but I'm hopeful that we can look into. So, what is time? Time is a finite or infinite resource. I don't really know if we have the time to adequately discuss it, but it certainly is amongst time the most discussed topic. Sorry, I'm trying to do some mild editing. Oop. Alrighty. So we're working on the T, the I, the M, the E, what we were, what we are, where we're going, where we've spent. Looks like we don't have anybody up in here yet, but it is good to see that I got it going for you guys. Let's get it going with the origins. So, back then, we've got tide and Tima. Tima, time, tide. Old English Tima of Germanic origin related to tide, which that's a temporal sense. You've got the tide coming in and the tide going out. It's a sense of moment. It's understanding when was and when will be. It's saying the motion of the ocean and the current in itself carries a drift, and to say through one point and into another that fluid dynamics holds, that the utter space of time will hold. But as I said in the last stream about time, it's a function that can't exist without space. So we do need to talk about space, but with space, it needs its space. So let's keep on time. So, with it being a Middle English word, it's obviously old. So let's look at some more about this. We've got a Seymour here, but is that just going to get us into a chat? No, that's a good amount of verifiable data. And then we'll also look at okay, it dropped that one word. So we've got time, the indefinite continued progress of existence and events in the past, present, and future, regarded as a whole. But again, the holism is the point. You cannot have the indefinite amount without the whole. The future is part of that and present past. You cannot have one without the other without the other. These are all intrinsically tied in the indefinite concept of time or times. So, times, we're going to look at another page and come back over here. But we got time as a unit. Time's got like seconds, decaseconds, a minute. You've got hectoseconds. There's much more lines, but the real point is when we're looking at time as a function, we look at chronology, which we look at as a series of events. We've got 7 and 12. Let's see what those are. Minute, hour, day, week, month, year. So the year is divided in two different ways. You've got the months and you've got the days, but the days realistically don't add up properly with the minutes. There's a differential and a drift. You can't really keep it on a clock. You can't even keep it on an atomic clock. If you have perceptive distance with that space, you then modulate your time. So if we were able to get into a machine that could take us at a quick enough distance away from where we are moving away in space and functionally time the more we move. If we continue in that direction and never stop, our light will be continually going away, and that light will get dimmer and dimmer and dimmer, and eventually it will fold into just being a faded noise. But the point is that we will be moving functionally to a different time phase. If we are able to somehow teleport back without losing any time, we would go back to functionally the beginning of time by doing that. But we don't have that kind of spatial distance travel. So we're looking at a minute, an hour, a day, a week, a month, a year. Down here, they got a second, and there's no decade listed there. There's a 1 year, 10 years. I don't know. But yeah, 366 is another point. There's also leap years. So time is indiscriminate. It doesn't make sense when we go dividing it this way. This is what society wants us to believe is time. Now, let's look at a different esoteric concept when it comes to time and something that I find uniquely interesting. So, if we're looking at space, Antarctica is the closest thing that we have to it's 5:44 p.m. on Friday the 9th. So it's Tomorrowland. It's already tomorrow there. But the real point is let's see if we can go time scale. Antarctica has no official time zone as longitudinal lines converge at the South Pole, meaning it technically lies in all time zones. Instead, research stations use various times, often matching their supply bases, like New Zealand time for the McMurdo South Pole or UTC home country's time, for creating a practical mix of zones for logistical convenience. But the point is that time in Antarctica is a very weird concept, not just because it lies on all longitudinal lines, but daylight savings time doesn't exist because it's located south of the Antarctic Circle, and the midnight sun phenomenon is the ultimate thing. The midnight sun talks about how the South Pole, because of its positionality, it has a weird influx where days and years are not separate concepts but one and the same. You have a non disclusion between a day and a year. So the sun will rise at one point or another during the actual springtime. It's the spring equinox, I believe. But then there's polar night. So polar night and the midnight sun are two different concepts in Antarctica. So midnight suns, there's also the midnight sun up in the Arctic Circle. But so yeah, midnight sun, also known as polar day, is a natural phenomenon that occurs in the summer months in places north of the Arctic Circle or south of the Antarctic Circle when the sun remains visible at the local midnight. When midnight sun is seen in the Arctic, the sun appears to move from left to right. In Antarctica, the equivalent apparent motion is from right to left. This occurs at latitudes ranging from approximately 65 degrees to 44 to exactly 90 degrees north or south and does not stop exactly at the Arctic Circle or the Antarctic Circle due to refraction. The complete opposite phenomenon, polar night, occurs in winter when the sun stays below the horizon throughout the day. So the point is, the sun rises and the sun sets. Weirdly enough, and this is something you won't really believe, when we're looking at the concept of our good old friend Santa Claus or Santa, Santa's got the weirdest sun in the world because you'd think on intensity, yes, it is the equator that gets the most sunlight. But if we are talking about the most sun time, It is actually the North Pole. But because they got that also polar night, polar night is a phenomenon that occurs in the northernmost and southernmost regions, the poles of Earth, when the sun remains below the horizon more than 24 hours a day. This is like being in the depths of space. This only occurs inside the polar circles. The opposite phenomenon, polar day or midnight sun, we were just talking about that, occurs when the sun remains above the horizon for more than 24 hours. So in this one, you're looking at your watch and you're going, okay, sun, it's time for you to go down. And it's like, it's midnight. I'm not tired. And normally people would be like, well, that doesn't make any sense. The sun needs to go down, it needs to come up, it needs to go down, it needs to come up. But it just goes, woo, woo, woo. I'm the sun moving around because of the rotation of the earth and because of the circling pattern for 6 months. It just does that back and forth little giddy dance, and then it shifts into its, oh, all right, that was 6 whole months. I'll see you guys in 6 months. And then it goes to the other side of the planet and it goes, hey guys, I was tired over there, but now I'm up over here, because it's a polar effect. When the one side gets it, the other side doesn't. In the same way the sun rises and the sun sets anywhere in the world, it rises, it sets just on the equinox when the planet is ready to go. All right, shift this way. It's like the Earth takes a rollover. But anyway, let's go about polar night. Polar night's a phenomenon that occurs in the northern southernmost parts. So again, the sun's gone all day. So it's like midnight all day. So you go, okay, 7 in the morning, time to get up. Sun's gonna get up soon too. Right? Right? And unless it's just about time for the sun to rise in 6 months, then it's still got some time. There are multiple ways to define the twilight: the gradual transition to and from darkness when the sun is below the horizon. Civil twilight occurs when the sun is between 0 and 6 degrees below the horizon. Nearby planets like Venus and bright stars like Sirius are visible during this period. Nautical twilight continues until the sun is 12 degrees below the horizon. During nautical twilight, the horizon is visible enough for navigation. Astronomical twilight occurs when the sun has sunk 18 degrees below the horizon. Beyond 18 degrees, refracted sunlight is no longer visible. True night is defined as the period when the sun is 18 or more degrees below either horizon. Since the atmosphere refracts sunlight, polar day is longer than polar night, and the area that experiences polar night is smaller than the area that experiences polar day. Polar circles are located at latitudes between these two areas at approximately 66.5 degrees. When it's day in the Arctic Circle, it is night in the Antarctic Circle, and vice versa. Like I said, Santa gets the same amount as Antarctica gets night, and Antarctica gets the same amount of sun that it's cold and nighttime up in the polar north. So the South Pole and the North Pole, because of their position on the sun, go, it's cold over here, it's cold over here, it's cold over here, it's cold over here. We see it as 6 months because we are a transient little scurrying mammal species. But instead, we need to look at it from the cosmological sense and say, this rock is cold on one side, then it gets so cold that the ice on it perhaps makes it shift to the other side, and then it thaws on the other side, and then it switches and keeps switching and keeps switching. I don't necessarily know enough about the earth and the weight of it, but I would love scientists to hop in the chat and check my work. Realistically, I'm coming out here with my stuff, guys. I don't mind people commenting. I don't know if anybody's hopped in on the board yet or if we got any chat. Oh, we got 3 people up in here. Let's see if we got any kind of communiques. Oh, looks like it. I'm not really sure what Peak P is, but I'll definitely give it a chance, buddy. Uh, anyway, Good morning. Yeah, good morning. And is it what time? He said it was okay. So now the real question is it midnight sun or polar night in Antarctica? Is it the nighttime or daytime down there? Because it's going to be that way for the next couple months. If they're on the south end and it rises in the proper sunrise time, when does the sun rise in Antarctica next? So we're looking at the next time. It depends on the location, but for the South Pole, it rises around the September equinox. So it sets around the March equinox. It's daytime. So it's right now, it's day. Happy daytime in the South Pole. So I do hope that my fans are enjoying the content. I do want to try and get my best up in it. And I know that my stuff is still on the rise, but I do appreciate everybody coming up in here. And we're still looking at time a little bit left. We got this midnight sun and the polar night, but we still have to get into like time metrics because the most of the rest of the world still uses time as an analyzing process for productivity and performance. They look at the metric of time as a clicking metronome that says eventually you're going to drop dead, and eventually it's going to be nighttime, and eventually that pizza will get here. And it keeps people waiting, and it keeps people on edge, and it keeps people anxious, and it keeps people functioning in a state of fear. And I would like to enable people, and I would like to strengthen people. I would like to have people go, hey, Ball, really cool idea. My son picked up so many of these windows. This cannot be good. Like, all these need to go. You gotta love kids. Anyway, so let's manage some time. When we're looking at time management, we're still organizing that clock, that thing that we want to put in our hand and go, it's this time, it's that time. I love a pocket watch, don't get me wrong. But when we're looking at a pocket watch like that, it gets pretty disheartening. I'm going to try and hide that. And oh, it just does that. You get to be up there, and we'll try and pin it like that, maybe. Okay. Like I said, he opened so many of these. He's so adorable, though. I can't tell you how much I love him. So I am sorry about the times not being legitimate on here. I work a lot and, I was still late on this, but the point is time's an illusion. Illusion. It doesn't make any sense. It's something that we use to drive ourselves into over planning and over prioritizing to give ourselves a panic instead of being flexible. Realistically, time management needs to be done with emotional management. If you only go for the one time, then you're only going to go for the one time. I personally think people need to be more adaptive. People need to roll with the punches a little bit better. I would like to believe that we have a lot more going for us. So, guys, if you would like to try and put in your feedback about time and ask me some queries, I'm all for it and I'm all about it. I'm trying to get myself up and presentable for all you guys, but like I said, I'm still new about all this. And I really want you guys to understand that I do appreciate all the feedback, but let's get back into time so I don't waste yours. We also over here got time as a resource. Now, this is a little bit better. I think time as a resource is better than time as a managed thing. Now, you manage resources, but when you manage it as a resource that needs to be squandered and divided instead of something that needs to be treasured and valued, when it comes down to context, I think that too many people are out to not actually value their time. And if you look at it as you have a limited amount of days, or in Antarctic terms, you have a limited amount of years. there is a limited amount of space between now and then, whatever then is, whatever now is. And realistically, someday, we're all just going to be laughs and noise in the background. And I'd hate for people that wanted to say something to not be able to say something. So I'm here for you guys, and I do hope that through time, I can be a little bit better. But as you guys know, I live in tomorrow. It's not bright out here. It's Antarctic polar night where I live. But realistically, it's bright as can be in the Antarctic South. It'll be bright tomorrow. It'll be bright again. I'm trying to be bright and sunny, and I'll still be bright and sunny no matter what. So it doesn't really matter to me how much or precious or finite I have, but it doesn't renew. That's another thing. Whenever you look at it, is that this person says it's the most valuable resource you have because it's completely non renewable. So when it comes to time, we really need to look at time as a value, less as a concept that needs to be constantly like managed to get a lot. So if we're looking at this polar lifestyle, I like to try and rise my mind in a way where I put myself into projects. I like to put myself wholeheartedly into whatever I work on. So I have been trying to develop a lot of different stuff for you guys. I know that I am buying myself a little bit of time by having this be a time week, but I do want to overall discuss how this as a concept is realistically a hoax to push people down a line. And that line of time is non contiguous because it's more of an amorphic blob. It's an instantiation. And the little times that this happens compared to the little times that that happens, time isn't really straight. It's more of a wad. And as a ball myself, let's talk about the indefinite continued progress of existence. So if we have like flowers blooming, that's a progress over time. Slowly the bud develops and blossoms. But when we look at the actual metrics of time, it's a point that measures hours to midnight and, noon. It's a rotational pole of the day. You look at time from a perspective where the sun rises and the sun sets and a day has advanced, and then we are on a next contiguous calendar day. But if we were to look at it from the progression of you have a limited amount of hours each day, and whatever you decide to do with them, you can do with them. Some people could make more with their time, and I feel like the only way that we're going to ever really get to know what happened with our lives is if we can build up that resource as something more valued. So, again, time is sometimes relegated to periods. The people of Victorian times are all ghosts, they're no longer. So, to think about it from a contextualism, we are also one of these times. We have not necessarily gotten to the S or the elapse or the to be regarded entirely. It's more of a flux state. It's a quantum where one's lifetime might interfere with the actual usage of existence. But when it comes to time, it is the end of the game. I guess they called time. They don't, or even a sentence. Time is considered a limitation. We see it as a box that we have this much of, and that's it. And ultimately, I would like to delve deeper into time, and times even gives multiplication. Like there's a lot of different instantiations from the concept of time. It is a very wide variety kind, but I do think that when it comes to time, with it being limited, but with it being so vast in the same bit, it has that polar sense of we could decide to put our efforts into the best of things or the worst of it. It is literally that the best of times or worst of times. Uh, so another weird concept is if there was this one thing that I heard of back in the day that's utterly ridiculous, but as a concept, not with the rude behind it. If we look at time as a cubism instead of looking at from it as not the time of cubism, the art, but look at that, it's a period. So we've got a different time frame of the cubist art form. But what I wanted to show you is time as a cube. The time cube theorem, this is basically what I'm trying to look at. Okay, not necessarily all of it, but you've got the you got the generality of the sun up, sun down, midday, midnight. The time of it all is that it goes through different phases of the actual Earth. Now, on the poles, you only see it going around and around and around, but on the actual surface, the sun appears to rise and fall because of the locus of the actual rotation. So there are actually four quadrennial days that are taking place. There's the dawning, midday, and night cresting of the actual experiment. So you have time from that cubist metric. You can then divide it into differential posits. So you could take time in such a space where you have all different four corners going through different points of time. So you have the sun on one point rolling around it, but if you're looking at it from one of the poles, it's just going to be going in a circle. But if you're looking at it from the other pole, it's going to be behind the earth, barely cresting and allowing a little bit to go. But if we were truly on the pole, then that is the difference. So I do feel that as much as it is a normal concept, it's about time we talk about time in less normalized dimensions and try and look at it from obtuse and differential perspectives. Because when we look at a midnight sun, look at that. There's the sun from an exposure setting. It's going down. Nope. Nope. And it just keeps on missing. And look at all that beautiful water and the land exposed and life's allowed. But yeah, the midnight sun, 20 the 20th of September to the 23rd of March for about 6 months. So we are right now personally in the geographic midnight sun. So even though it's midnight where I'm at, and even though time is technically an illusion, it's a sunny day down there. I keep on having my stuff get muted. Sorry about that, you guys. Hopefully, it's not muting my actual audio. Okay, that looks fine. So, I do hope you guys enjoy my content. I know it's not the easiest thing. Like I said, my son was on here, so don't judge my YouTube history too much, right? It's a fun activity for preschoolers. So when it comes to these concepts of time, we have a limited finite amount of it. But when we look at it in a different metric, let's look at this. This will be a beautiful watch. So here it is, the sun at midnight. Up, it went down. Oh, that beautiful 4 a.m. sun, right? Or is that still midnight? I don't know how much time elapsed there in that time elapsed, but the point is it didn't ever fully go down. It just kind of went whoop, whoop. So yeah, the idea is when the sun is up there, it's going in an arced path. That's why we have the sun over here to the sun over here. It's literally following the film strip of time. You have the sun moving along the horizon. Instead of it going up and down and up and down and up and down, it just kind of goes, oh, oh, oh. And with it, never really necessarily going up all the way above it, unless there's some kind of high noon. Uh, Maybe there's a brightest day of sun, but I don't necessarily know about the angles. So yeah, white night, midnight sun, experience midnight twilight. So it's the period between dawn and dusk. We've got sunset and sunrise. It's a daylight illumination. But the point is that, again, when we look at this series of time, it is a progression. It is a left to right series of the sun going in one path. And that path is one thing. Let's go to the White Night festivals, see about that. All night arts festivals in many cities in the summer. It's St. Petersburg. Okay, yeah, they also have degrees of sunlight and white nights. Sun does not set after 10 p.m. The twilight lasts almost all night. Europe, France. I was trying to look at specifically. Oh, I don't see Antarctica, which that's odd that that's how I got here. Antarctica is not in Europe. Just in case anyone wanted a quick geography lesson. So yeah, the number of days per year with the midnight sun gets closer to one the closer you go to the pole. So approximately, this is defined by the polar circles. Midnight sun can be seen as much as 90 kilometers outside the polar circle. Even though at the Arctic Circle, the center of the sun is per definition without refraction by the atmosphere, only visible during one summer night, some part of midnight sun is visible at approximately the 12th of June until the 1st of July. This period extends as one travels north. But the real point of this is that when we look at the midnight sun, this is a non setting concept. This is to continue. This is resilience in its form. And when we look at the idea of time, we need to look at where we are and where we're going. If you were to be the sun and you were to shine, I think that you should try and shine your brightest and most vibrant and your most harmonious. I think that you should try and allow the universe to reverberate through you. And this, I feel, is what the sun is trying to do. This is the heart of understanding where the universe wants us all. And this is why I feel like it's important. This is the South Pole right before the March equinox, with the sun appearing through refraction despite being still below the horizon. So this is after sunset, but it's still just peeking through the clouds, trying to say, hey, I'll see you later. Don't close the door on me too hard. And then we go into full polar night where the sun just doesn't ever get up there, but it's still trying. It's still shining its beauty, and you can see all the starlight. It's a really beautiful concept when you think about it. When you take out the day cyclicalism of up and down and up and down, and you just go, it is night for a while. That I feel like is, oh, look at that. I hope that's just ambient lighting. I don't know if that's just like a porch light, but if it is, that one looks like it's just ambient light from the actual sky. So it's probably just the refraction. Early afternoon, sun's not really getting up there, but it is beautiful. That's in Norway. But yeah, the real bottom line is hopefully I can understand more. This is the picture that we were just looking at because it's so pretty that they were like twice, please. So yeah, the midnight sun, the polar night. It's getting late myself as it's 12:12. It's already technically tomorrow and I've got things going on. So technically it's already time to close. but we can close up with good times and good fun. Tomorrow, I'm allegedly doing ball and chat with the ball pit and chill. I'd like to play ball pit with you guys at 8 o'clock. I hope I can do it, but the real point is time is an illusion. So if I don't make it at 8, I'll still try and hit that time before we hit the polar sun midnight of the next day. I still got a little bit of a stream in with you guys. It's been about 30 or so minutes. So I don't feel entirely bad losing out on time. Let's give one last pass to the good people over at the Wikimedia. Let's look at time from their perspective. They've got the continuous progression of existence. What about from philosophy? So I want to talk briefly about eternity. When did it begin? If it never ends, there's no real concept of beginning. So there's a person walking a dog. 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 If you look at it from this perspective, I guess it could make sense. Or this perspective, it could make sense. Or realistically isolated time frames. Or these could be in different time. It doesn't really matter. Time is an arbitrary arrangement that says the dog is over here, the dog is over there, the person's walking like this, the person's walking like that. They're over in this present temporal dimension. But they take up different occupancies of space and time relative to one another. And realistically, that is the only division of it. The bar and ring paradox. Let's look at this one. The bar and ring paradox is a problem very similar but simpler than the rod and grate paradox, involving only inertial frames. The bar and ring paradox is the rod and grate paradox. Uh, is complicated. It involves non-inertial frames of reference. Since moment the man is walking horizontally, a moment later he's falling downward. It involves a physical deformation of the man or segmented rod, since the rod is bent in one frame of reference and straight in another. The aspects of the problem introduce complications involving the stiffness of the rod, which tends to obscure the real nature of the paradox. The bar and ring paradox is free of these complications. A bar, which is slightly larger in length than the diameter of the ring, is moving upward and to the right with its long axis horizontal, while the ring is stationary and the plane of the ring is also horizontal. If the motion of the bar is such that the center of the bar coincides with the center of the ring at some point in time, then the bar will be Lorentz contracted due to the forward component of its motion, and it will pass through the ring. The paradox occurs when the problem is considered in the rest frame of the bar. The ring is now moving downward and to the left and will be Lorentz contracted along the horizontal length, while the bar will not be contracted at all. How can the bar pass through the ring? So the concept is, if it's caught going this way, why is it falling out that way? So if the ring were to just move up and out and this doesn't catch, why is it caught when we rotate? So this is the real point. When we look at observational reality, we still have to put space alongside time. So the space gives us the dimensionality of saying if it is moving this way, it has this kind of momentum. If it's moving that way, it has that kind of momentum. So the diagram on the left illustrates the bar and ring from the rest frame of the ring. So the ring is basically falling and moving upward and to the right while the ring is stationary and uncontracted. So it's just going to move away, I guess. The diagram on the right illustrates the situation at the same instant, but the rest frame of the bar. The ring is now Lorentz contracted and rotated with respect to the bar, and the bar is uncontracted. Again, the ring passes over the bar without touching it. The resolution of the paradox again lies in the relativity of simultaneity. The length of a physical object is defined as its distance between two simultaneous events occurring at the end of each body, and since simultaneity is relative, so is this length. This variability in length is just the Lorentz contraction. Similarly, a physical angle is defined as the angle formed by three simultaneous events. See, it's a triadic nature. This angle will also be relative quantity. And the above paradox, although the rod and plane of the ring are parallel in the rest frame of the ring, they are not parallel in the rest frame of the rod. The uncontracted rod passes through the contracted ring because the plane of the ring is rotated relative to the rod by an amount sufficient to let the rod pass through. In mathematical terms, a Lorentz transformation can be separated into the product of a spatial rotation and a proper Lorentz transformation, which involves no spatial rotation. The mathematical resolution of the bar and ring paradox is based on the fact that the product of two proper Lorentz transformations, horizontal and vertical, may produce a Lorentz transformation which is not proper, diagonal, but involves a spatial rotation component. So when we look at an object and we rotate it, we are again changing its position in space and time. You're saying spatially it moves, and in time we say it was this way and now it's been transformed. The whole concept of transformation in time, you can't have an object in rest and in movement. It has to be one or the other. As it is in rest right now, we do not have the circle moving, but we can move the rod. But in this one, we have the stationary movement of the bar and we can move the ring, but the movement of the ring allows a different kind of dimensionality because of geometry as well as time and as well as these conflicting interference patterns that I don't necessarily fully understand, but simultaneity, that's important. The present, when is now? If now is the past, present, and future, then it's a representational model. The past is generally seen as being immutably fixed, as in it's already gone, and the future is seen as at least partly undefined. As time passes, the moment that was once the present becomes part of the past, and part of the future, in turn, becomes the new present. In this way, time is said to pass, with a distinct present moving forward into the future, leaving the past behind. One view of this type, presentism, argues that only the present exists. The point in the future the present does not travel forward through an environment of time, oop, moving from a real point in the past towards a real point in the future. Instead, it merely changes. The past and future do not exist, and are only concepts used to describe the real, isolated, changing present. This conventional model presents a number for a number of difficult philosophical problems and may be difficult to reconcile with currently accepted scientific theories such as relativity. We argue that special relativity eliminates the concept of absolute simultaneity and a universal present. According to the relativity of simultaneity, observers in different time frames of reference, can have different measurements of whether a given pair of events happened at the same time or different times. Uh, with there being no physical basis of preferring one frame of judgment over that of another. However, the events that may be non simultaneous in all frames of reference, when one event within the light core cone of another, it is a causal past or causal future. Sorry, causal past or causal future. Then observers in all frames of reference show that one event it preceded the other. The causal past and causal future are consistent with all frames of reference, but any other time is elsewhere. And when there and within it there is no present, past, or future, there is no physical basis for a set of events that represents the present. Many philosophers have argued that relativity implies eternalism. Philosopher of science Dean Rickles says that the consensus among philosophers seems to be that special and general relativity are incompatible with presentism. Uh, Christian Worthrich, Wortrich argues uh, that supporters of presentism can salvage absolute simultaneity only if they reject either empiricism or relativity. Dean Zimmerman and others argue for a single privileged frame whose judgments about length, time, and simultaneity are true ones, even if there is no empirical way to distinguish this frame. Hilary Putnam concluded in 1967 that it follows from special relativity that any future event X is already real. In eternalism, is the only view compatible with special relativity. The philosopher Mauro Dorado interprets Putnam's arguments differently and asserts that the opposition between presentism, the only the presently existing event exists, and eternalism, past, present, and future events, are equally real, which is somewhat presupposed in Putnam, 1967, as misguided. Give me one moment. So, if presentism is the view of time that states that only a present exists, or equivalently that everything else that which exists presently changes as time passes. According to presentism, there's no past or future entities at all, though some entities have existed and other entities will exist. In a sense, the past and future do not exist for presentists. Past events have happened, have existed, or have been present, and future events will happen, will exist, or will be present, but neither exist at all since they do not exist now. Presentism is a view about temporal ontology, a view about what exists in time that contrasts with eternalism. It's the view that the past, present, and future entities exist, that is, ontological thesis of a block universe. And with no futurism, the view the only past and present entities exist, that is, ontological thesis of a growing block universe. So Augustine of Hippo proposed that the present is analogous to a knife edge placed exactly between the perceived past and the imaginary future, and does not include the concept of time. Proponents claim this should be self evident because if the present is extended, it must have separate parts. These parts must be simultaneous if they are truly a part of the present. According to early philosophers, time cannot be simultaneously past and present, hence not extended. Contrary to St. Augustine, some philosophers propose that conscious experience is extended in time. For example, William James said that time is the short duration of which we are immediately and incessantly sensible. Other present philosophers include the Indian Buddhist tradition. W. Scott Hestevlod, Hestevlod has argued for, but not endorsed, the idea that presentists may grant the present some duration, whereas eternalists may not. Fyodor Shurnbaskoy, I'm so sorry about everyone's names. I'm not on your behest, but mine. A leading scholar of the modern era of Buddhist philosophy, has written extensively on Buddhist presentism. Everything past is unreal, everything future is unreal, everything imagined, absent, mental is unreal. Ultimately, real is only the present moment of physical efficiency, causation. According to J.M.E. McTaggart's The Unreality of Time, there are two ways of referring to events: a series of tense time, yesterday, today, tomorrow, and the B series, untense time, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That presentism posits the A series is fundamental and the B series alone is not sufficient. Presentists maintain that temporal discourse requires that the use of tenses, whereas old B theorists argued that tense language can be reduced to tenseless facts. Dyke 2004. Note that the presentism is a thesis about what exists in time rather than what time is like. The A series does not necessarily entail presentism nor vice versa. Tim Maudlin described, although not by himself, as an A theorist and an eternalist, although this is an uncommon combination. Arthur N. Pryor has argued against untense theories with the following ideas. The meaning of statements such as "thank goodness that's over" is much easier to see in a tense theory than with a distinguished present now. Similar arguments can be made to support the theory of egocentric presentism or perceptible realism, which holds that there is a distinguished present self. Vincent Konitzer made a similar argument connecting a, a theory with the vertiginous question. What's that? See, that's the problem with information. You get more and more and more. Asks why, of all the subjects of experience out there, this one, the corresponding human being, referred to as why experiences are lived, and why me and not someone else. That's an interesting one. So, according to Konitzer, uh, arguments in favor of A theory are more effective as arguments for the combined position of both A theory and being true, and the I being metaphysically privileged from other perspectives. So, what I'm saying is you've got the division of time in this sense, and the unreality of time with yesterday, today, tomorrow. I think that the A series and the B series are not understanding that polar eternalism of the day, sun up, sun down, that could be perceived with that. So I really feel like there's a lot more to offer there than just the Monday through Friday or the yesterday, today, tomorrow. You need to look at it from a perspective of it's morning for a couple of months, not just a little bit of time, but it's morning all the time, y'all. So I do hope that everybody is enjoying my content, and I do hope that I'm not keeping people bored through all of this. Realistically, tomorrow we need to look at eternity because that's got a lot of time in it. Oh, it's also got a lot of art in it, and sometimes art has strong themes. But yeah, what do you guys think? Do you have any time for me? Do you have any comments? What about the problem of time? In theoretical physics, the problem of time is the conceptual conflict between quantum mechanics and general relativity. Quantum mechanics regards the flow of time as universal and absolute, whereas general relativity regards the flow of time as malleable and relative. The problem raises the question of what time really is in a physical sense and whether it is truly real, distinct phenomenon. So this is where I believe it is. Imaginary time is is a mathematical representation of time that appears in some approaches to special relativity. It finds uses in certain cosmological theories. Mathematically, imaginary time is real time, which has undergone Wick rotation. Never mind. That is not what I meant. It is simply expressed in terms of imaginary numbers. That's still real. I think that time is illusory. Time as an illusion. That I think is the real thing. The idea that time is an illusion suggests our perception of a steady flowing now isn't fundamental reality, but rather a psychological construct or emergent property from a deeper timeless quantum process, challenging classical physics' view of time as a universal constant. Physicists like Carlo Rovelli and Albert Einstein point to relativity, where time warps and simultaneously is relative, and in quantum mechanics, where time's role differs from space, to argue that past, present, and future might coexist, with our brains creating a sequential narrative to form a complex network of events. Einstein's relativity shows time as an absolute. It slows down near massive objects with speed, meaning there's no universal now. Quantum gravity theories like sorry, theories like quantum uh, gravity propose reality as a network of events, and time emerges from quantum interactions, not the other way around. Entropy, as the perceived flow of time, might be linked to a universe's increase in disorder, with our brains interpreting this progression as a forward moving timeline. Brains roll. Our brains create a linear narrative, cause and effect, to form complex, entangled quantum events, making time seem to flow. What this means: no universal now. Events can be simultaneous from one observer, but not another. Timeless reality. Emergent phenomenon. At the most fundamental level, reality might not be a collection of events without inherent past, present, or future. Time as we experience isn't a fundamental building block, but rather a large scale macroscopic feature that arises from deeper laws. So the real point is time is only an illusion in the sense that if we look at time as a film strip, we should theoretically be able to feed it backwards. But certain probabilistic events don't make sense if we feed it backwards. If we go for, like, say, an egg being smashed on the ground or someone dying, it doesn't seem to make any sense from a cosmological sense, because how would death turn into life? That doesn't make any sense. But if you think about an egg, smash it on the ground, and if you were to pick the pieces back up and put them back together and somehow have a magic glue that you couldn't tell the difference, you picked up every single last piece and put them all back together and did it in one holistic pickup of your hand, that would essentially be the A type perfect universe of that happened, or realistically catching the egg before it breaks. That's that timeline. But the real bottom line of it is, if we have an egg being able to smash in so many different ways, we should be able to feed that film strip backwards. And since we can't do that, we are looking at a present where we don't have the ability to actualize time in a way that makes sense if we go backwards with it. Now, I personally believe in the holism of the universe. I personally believe that there are deeper forces at play that have not scientifically been discovered, because we want to look at science from a very mechanicalistic, reductionist perspective. But I think that there are certain fractal patterns. I think that there is an utter holism to the fundamental unit. And if we actually look at it from a true background of what can we get from a design perspective, uh, time might be limited, but we can still make the best out of it. And time's limitations are more of a boundary. What we decide with time is truly what the full of it is. And I think, since time is more of a field, I think that it's time that we start looking at time from a different metric of seconds and days and hours. There isn't just 1 year left or just 1 day left. Maybe it might be in a differential sense till something changes or something is. But realistically, there is now, there was then, there could be tomorrow. If I live in tomorrow, though, am I in now or later? And I personally think that that later is in the future, but someday it'll be in the past. So defining a specific frame within the actual structure and tides of time to try and look at it and go, from here we have the ultimate directionality. I personally think that one of the most important things that is not really done and needs to be done is, we have an ontological problem that people aren't seeming to understand. And I'm going to wrap up with this because it is almost time for me to go. But I'm going to go ahead and explain this to you guys one good time so that you understand, hopefully, in a fast track sense, the way that this works. So, here is essentially where we stick ourselves. We are basically matter. Let's just say that we're this red down here. So, the red of matter is what our experiential existence is. This is the rock of our body. This is our grounding in the reality. This is who we are. So, this is all that we have ever been inside this circle. This is experiential existence. And then you have the series of what that actually is sitting upon. And I feel like that is this concept of like an actual grounding of not just it being the specific matter that we are, but this is consciousness. This is thinking about I'm sitting. This is thinking about I am tired. This is thinking about I am hungry. This is the potentiation of something coming into the mind of thought. Now, what we will try and do is go, this thing came up with this thing. We looked from the rock and saw the ground and went, we are on the ground. And that is where it went. Instead of the ground made the rock, and therefore we need to look at ourselves as part of the ground, looking at the ground to understand that we are on the tail end of this, not on the head. So if this is the matter and we are trying to consider ourselves the domain of consciousness, I would say that, what does consciousness sit within? What is the overarching power and force above consciousness? And I, to you, would say that it is an ultimate force that is a fairly simple one, but is the ontological fuel of existence, and it is kind. The kind of reality, the differential of our existence and the experiential of our existence, to put ourselves within the current of the kind, to understand that the kind powers the substrate of existence, our consciousness, and consciousness goes, hey, one day, someday, I want to be a rock. And then rock goes, wow, look at the world and this kind of existence that I live in. Look at this, look at that. And then it feels, I am full, I have matter, but not just I made this consciousness, that I am the true force, and from me powers all. It is a weakened field of existence. It says that this comes from this, which it does not understand, that ultimately this, sorry, that's not my favorite color on that. Let's go with the deep, well, sharpen it down. So this is the whole of it. But the problem is it can't be written out in the stars, or it's too plain to read, and people don't consider it, and people don't perceive it, and people just want to think that they've already got it figured out. When realistically, there's a lot more to offer in here to say, hey, I am a part of this experience. I am the universe perceiving itself. I am a part of the greater structuralism. Another bit to importantly look at when we look at this later is that variety. Variety means that this is not just all one holism, to say this was all one thing, to have extra elementalism and to have the idea of actualizing design, and to be able to use space and to use color and to use thought, and to say one line compared to a bunch of lines, compared to a bunch of thoughts and concepts. It is a lot more imperative to say, we as the matter are picked up by the consciousness of the universe. It is not, we are the sudden elusive thought pinned to existence and go, I figured it out. I am truth. I am mind. In fact, this is just an illusion. This is us looking at time and going, it's time for me to see myself. But realistically, it is simply the universe, this holism, putting itself in obfuscation to go, wow, would you look at that? Would you look at the stars in the sky? And it's trying to tell, please understand. And then we see the wind and we see the shape of existence. And instead of it being an obviated thing, we look into the ground and go, we we are the true roots of this. We are the actualization of these roots and the flowers. But when all of it truly is telling us, hey, you're a part of a greater kind, you're not limited to just one thing or another, you are within the holism of existence. And then we, thinking ourselves an elusive mind, go, I am the true force of consciousness, when realistically it doesn't work. It's a clash. It's a functional disassociation with what is actually there, in trying to bring it closer to ourselves instead of trying to allow it to exist with what it truly is, which is its own unictitude, and not just one form, but a categorical division. That is how we get variety. That is how we get speciation. That's how you get bluebells and pink tulips, and not just have a universe of row after row after row of the same rock going, I had this thought. So the idea of unictitude and the idea of individualism is a lot more inspired than one might hope to say. But anyhow, I hope you guys weren't too terribly bored by me. I know that it's not the most fun all the time hanging out over here in the Ball Silver channel, but Ugh. I'm still trying to get you guys some quality content through the days and through the nights. So if you appreciate it, maybe give a like to my comment, maybe subscribe, perhaps put on your happiest smiles because I'm trying my hardest, even if it's not the easiest. So technically stream today, so I don't have to stream today, right? No, I'm kidding. I'll be here tomorrow or today or whenever today or time is. I'll be here when you watch this. So take care when you watch this and be good to one another, all right? Once again, from the Hey Y'all It's Ball team, Ball Silver signing off. Bye, y'all, from Ball. Oh, how do I get out of here? Who's